Hi guys, welcome to our first virtual lesson. We're starting with Unit 3. We're just going to start fresh with a fresh unit. We're going to be looking at the U.S. economy and how that's going to apply to things such as government regulation and the Great Depression, the 1920s, and why governments regulate certain businesses today. And so to start today's lesson, we're going to just kind of review concepts and ideas about the American economy. And so a lot of this should be review. You should remember a lot of this from civics and economics class, but we're going to do a refresher. First of all, today's learning target, it is very important, especially now that we're not face-to-face in the classroom, is that you recognize what you're supposed to know in each lesson and know that you can do that at the end. And so today's learning target is I can explain how the growth of the U.S. economy created the need for reforms. And remember, reforms are changes brought on by the government. And so we're going to look at those today. All right, so to start with, you should have your notes opened. They were on the assignment sheet, step number 1. And so if you have those, you can toggle back and forth, or you can split your screen. But you have those notes in front of you. There are 3 warm-up questions, and these questions are just prior knowledge, so what you already know about them. First question is, what do you already know about how the American economy works? Think about consumers, businesses, money. What do I already know about economy and how it works? Second question, do you think our government intervenes or interferes in our economy? And if you say yes, they do, give me an example or explain why you say yes, and then the same for no. And then finally, how do you participate in the American economy? What do you do that is a part of this economic system? So take just a minute, pause the video, go back to your notes, answer those warm-up questions. Okay, so we're going to start with the roles of businesses and individuals. And so here's some vocabulary that we need to remind ourselves about. First of all, is consumers. Consumers are the buyers who spend the money. When you go into a store and you buy products, you are a consumer. And the producers are the sellers who make money. They produce the product. And so those are the 2 main people that participate in the economic system. And so we're going to focus on the economic system of the United States, which is a market-based economy, which is also known as capitalism. And in a capitalist society, producers employ people who then make an income. Okay, so the producers go out, they hire people to work for them, they make an income because of that. Consumers make money by working for businesses. They spend this money on goods and services, which is how businesses make more money. And so it's just showing you the relationship these 2 groups of people have. The consumers work for the producers. They produce products, which are then sold to other consumers that help make money and pay the incomes. Our economy mostly functions on its own, meaning that we don't have a lot of government involvement, but it is guided by the self-interest of buyers and sellers. That means that what is bought and sold determines what is in our economy. And this was based on Adam Smith, the very famous economist. He's called that the invisible hand that controlled. If people aren't buying a product, producers are not going to make it. And so, and therefore consumers are not going to participate in that as well. And so these are the main role of businesses and individuals in our economy. So I just want you to take a moment and think about this question and write your answer is, how do the actions of buyers and sellers drive our economy? How do they work together to create our economic system? So you can push pause if you need to take a few minutes and type that question out. Okay, and so the next part we're going to kind of go over here is the basics of supply and demand. Vocabulary here, supply and demand. Supply is the quality that sellers are willing and able to produce at various price points. What that means, what that means is it should be quantity, not quality. I'll fix that. But it is the quantity that sellers are willing and able to produce at various price points. And so what it means is how much is available to buy at a certain price. So for example, you take your phone. The supply of your phone was based on how many that sellers are willing and able to produce at various price points. The lower the price, the less of a product they're going to make because they want to make money off of it. The higher price, okay. Demand is the quantity that consumers are willing and able to buy at various price points. So that's kind of the opposite is how much people actually want to buy, okay. And those are they interact. When demand goes up, or supply goes down, the price is going to rise. So think about this, like, for example, every time a new Apple iPhone comes out, the suppliers don't make a lot of that phone, and so therefore the price is high. The demand for those phones is very high, and so therefore the cost will also be high. Prices are going to fall when demand decreases or supply increases, and sometimes it can be both or one of the other. When people no longer want a product, then the sellers have to lower the price in order to sell what they have left. That's why we have sales. If the supply increases, then they also have to lower the price because people we know don't want something that everybody else has, and so this causes them to want to pay less for it. Okay, and so what else factors into price? When we buy things, price plays a huge role. Firms, which are also businesses, must consider the cost of making their goods and services before pricing their product. Keep in mind that the price of a product is not necessarily how much it costs to make that product, because you have to pay your employees, you have to pay for the resources to create that product, and so the price reflects all of those things together. Those are called factors of production. Okay, this is your big vocabulary word here. It is what goes into making a product. That includes the natural resources, the labor, who's working, capital, what tools, what human expertise, what did we have to bring in for this? Households are the ones that supply the factors of production. They are the ones that work. Individuals, families, they go to work for these businesses in order to produce these goods. Firms then sell their finished goods and services to households, and so they create this big circle. Businesses, households, they keep going back and forth with this production. All right, so for the first part of this, I want you to think about this question: is why are prices important in a capitalist economy? Why is it important to price things correctly in our type of economy? Why can we just not charge whatever we want? What factors into that? And so just go back in your notes, think about it, write your answer down. Okay. And then one of the last things we're going to talk about here is expansions and recessions, okay? You see the business cycle. It goes up and down like a roller coaster. What you've got there is the period of expansion is when businesses are growing. Unemployment is low, the economy is growing, the consumers are spending, inflation is stable, everything is going really good in the economy. And then a recession happens when businesses are declining. You've got unemployment rising, the economy is declining, consumers are saving instead of spending. You have a lot of inflation. And so, unfortunately, we were in a period of expansion. We hit a peak, and now we're going to see contraction or recession experiencing in our economy in recent days. And when do you think the government intervenes in our economy? During expansions or recessions or both? Just think about what's going on during those times and why the government would intervene at those particular times. All right, and the very last slide that I have here just is an American economic timeline. We are studying American history and looking at how, ever since the Civil War, what has happened in our economy. And so some high points after the Civil War was over, or before the Civil War started, notice Northern had the industry and the Southern had the agriculture. Notice by the 1920s, which is what we're getting ready to cover, is we have a very prosperous economy due to the new technologies that were developed earlier. Everybody's wanting to buy those, and they're buying them on credit, and they're investing a lot of money in the stock market because these products are selling. People are buying these new technologies, and so the 1920s, we're going to be in a period of expansion. The Great Depression, of course, is going to hit, and we're going to bottom out. And then, as you can see, we kind of fluctuate between good and bad throughout those different times. So I just want you to take some time, look over the timeline, kind of get an idea of knowing that roller coaster, okay, and where that would have happened, okay. So this comes to the end of the PowerPoint that goes along with your notes, okay. So if there are any questions, you feel free to message me those on Google Classroom. When you finish filling out your notes and answering all the questions and providing good detail, make sure you turn in a copy of those notes into Google Classroom so that you get credit for doing those notes, and then you can move along to the assignment that will reflect this economy and how the government is involved.